guys, this is going to be a little how-to video on how to modify a Briggs flathead motor. This isn't increasing RPMs or removing the governor or anything, but it's something like more for off-road that you want more torque and a little bit more power, but you still want to lower RPM to where you don't blow your connecting rod. So the first thing I do is port and polish the intake port, not necessarily the exhaust because it's really hard because the valve guide kind of comes out further. But what you do is you basically just make it as smooth as possible. And what it looked like before was you can see where it's kind of ground down right in there, there's a bunch of casting lines and stuff where it was really rigid and not very smooth. So I just went over it with a Dremel, with a sanding disc, till it got really smooth, and then just went finer and finer, and then I went over it with a little wire wheel on the Dremel. And I still have a little bit of touching up to do. It's not perfect yet. The next thing that I usually do, and this is only on flatheads, you couldn't do this to overhead valves, is these eyebrows right here, right next to the valve seats, is to make these really smooth. Before they were all rigid, and this came in further, more of a point to everything, and it wasn't very smooth. But what this will do is it'll make it so fuel and air can flow more easily and further into the cylinder, giving you more power, and also exhaust out faster. And same with porting it. That'll also bring in fuel and air a lot smoother, and also up the efficiency of the motor too. And another thing that would be really make it a lot more compression is this is a model 28 or 12.5 or 12 horsepower flathead Briggs cylinder head, and this is a model 25 or 11 horsepower cylinder head, and these have the same exact bolt pattern, so you could put this cylinder head on the 12 horsepower, but if you want to modify it, that's what you want to do. If you have another cylinder head, or if you want to go that heavily into it. But because it has a smaller displacement, it'll create more compression for the bigger displacement of the piston. It'll be a smaller space that all the fuel and air will be compressed into, and that'll give you more compression and more power and torque. Another thing is to mill or shave down your head, but if you switch to 11 horsepower cylinder head on a 12 horsepower, you probably don't want to do this because it'll just give you too much compression. But basically what you do is you tape a piece of sandpaper down, and then you go over that and make little circles, and that'll shave this down and actually bring the cylinder head down further, giving you more compression. But first you want to start with like a little bit more coarse, but not like really coarse. I'd say like 150, and then work your way up to like 2,000 grit to make sure this is perfectly smooth. Another thing that I've found you can do, these three things I'm saying for the cylinder head, you definitely don't want to do all together because it'll give you way too much compression. First of all, to where you can't pull it over, and second of all, to where you get too much power and blow your connecting rod, because you get all that force pushing down on the connecting rod and it just wants to blow. So unless you switch to an ARC connecting rod, but anyway, I found that you can get little, they're copper gaskets, and they're really, really thin, so it actually brings the cylinder head down further. So then you wouldn't have to shave it down. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They're just small modifications, just to give you more torque, more for off-road, like I said, not for racing, high RPMs. Stock RPMs, just more torque. It's pretty simple. Usually won't cost any money if you just do the mods with like shaving it down and stuff. That won't cost any money. But even if you buy a gasket, those thin copper gaskets, they're like $5. So yeah, really cheap way to get some more torque and power out of your Briggs flathead. Alright, see you next time, guys.